What's going on, you guys? It's your Huggable Hipster here, and welcome back to a dual episode of Psychologically Gaming and Soulsborne Academy. Grab a chair, grab a coffee, whatever it is, and don't worry about the hunters. They're just here for your protection. So, Patches. I know. We hear that name and we're like, oh crap, what's gonna happen? What is he gonna do? Is he gonna kick us down a big hole? Is he going to make sure that we don't ever see the light of day? Is he going to say and manipulate us with kind words and phrases like, no, sir, I want to be your friend. I didn't mean it at all. I was just doing my job. You know, a man's got to eat. He kind of feels like the Newman of Souls games. Oh God, some of you are probably too young to know what I'm talking about. I just realized that. You know, Newman.
Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Newman.
He is the Newman of Souls games, and I will stick to this. I will die on this hill. Patches is one of those characters that I feel like is such a brilliant installment into the Souls games that it's almost too good to be true at times. What other game has the consistency that Souls games have when they have an NPC that just delivers banger lines game after game after game and shows our character that these worlds are basically connected? We don't see Patches, however, in Sekiro, which I wonder why, because it is still considered technically a Souls game, except you don't have co-op in that game. That is one thing that you do not have in Sekiro is co-op, which I'm kind of happy for. Don't come at me. I will fight you. So since I'm combining both Psychologically Gaming and Soulsborne Academy, I thought it would be neat to go into Patches, the character, basically, and see why he is the way he is in a nutshell, briefly, because if I did an entire video on him, it would probably take like an hour to do. Patches isn't just this silly little moron that likes to kick us into deep holes. No, he is actually, wait for it, our subconscious. I honestly think that Patches is the humanity in the whole scheme of things, is the human part of our wander, of our character. Because when you go throughout the world, you can see invaders. They have like this kind of red glowiness to them, and they, you know, you can kind of see through them. And especially in Demon Souls, we are the spirit that's traversing the different lands. In the different Souls games, you have Patches. Oh wait, actually, he's also in Elden Ring too. Never mind, 6 games. I just remembered that now. You have him in so many different titles that is basically bringing the character more so to life. No pun intended. Our character is a soul. Our character is something, a part of the human that once was. So when we go into the character of Patches and we see how he's there at every turn, being sarcastic, being somewhat manipulative, I feel like he is a part of us just as much as we are a part of the surroundings in a Souls game, if that makes sense. We are going through this game trying to find our humanity. We're trying to find the reason for being, and Patches is the only character in the entirety of the Souls game that does not question his existence. Patches doesn't question for anything for souls, anything for you know, any reason to fight to get to the monsters or the bosses or whatever it is, like any of the other NPCs that we see. Patches doesn't question anything. He is content. He is at peace with who he is. He is understanding of the character that he is. Since Patches could be a part of us, he could either be our subconscious mind, or he could just be a part of us that's kind of like that little voice in the back of your head that's, oh, maybe you shouldn't do this, or no, I'm going to go face plant right deep dive inside a hole where I don't know what anything is or what I'm doing. There's so many different layers to Patches as a character. There's so many different facets that I feel like doing the game a first run and seeing him for the first time as a character, you'll just automatically think, oh, this character is just an ass. You know, he's just, you know, here to ruin my day and make Dark Souls harder than it actually is. But when you see him in game after game after game, especially in Bloodborne as a spider, this is where it gets interesting. Because we see him in the Dark Souls games. We see him in Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and we see him in Elden Ring. We see him in Demon Souls. But what I find fascinating is that he's kind of I'll word this correctly. Patches is, when I was looking through the game Bloodborne and I saw him there, it almost seemed to me as he was the guilt of the person. And this would explain why you can't really get to Patches until later on. He just kind of, you know, sits there and kind of mocks you a little bit. And he, you know, spouts out these one-liners and everything just the way Patches does, obviously. Now, one of his lines in the game Bloodborne is, remember, no matter the circumstances, there will always be people willing to push you down a hole, which is in a reference to the Dark Souls games that I was mentioning previous, which is just kind of a, you know, a little aside to what his character was in Dark Souls, but it's very telling because this is how I kind of think that all of the Souls games, including Sekiro and Bloodborne, and Demon Souls, are all connected. Because why would that line be in there if it weren't referencing patches from Dark Souls? You know, you're gonna always find someone willing to push you down a hole. Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Demon Souls. The other reason why I think this is more of the human side of the hunter or of the soul, whatever Souls game it might be. In Bloodborne, there is a gesture that is dropped by patches where it's the beg for life gesture. It is very human to beg for your life. It's very human to plead, to bargain, to have a barter with someone about your life, about any circumstance that you are willing to fight for. And I feel like Patches, being the human that he is, that is very much of his character. That is very much of who he is as a person. You know, you know you're here, you know your body, you know your meat sack, basically, while you're here. But when you're in a dream, you have no conscience, you have no recollection of what your humanity is unless it's a lucid dream. You are in a waking state of consciousness within your dream. You know you're dreaming. You know everything that is happening currently. Humans are conniving. Humans are kind. Humans are barters. Humans are such a mixed bag of emotions, you know, and it even links back to what I said before about, you know, Patches technically being us, technically being the player character, of where we're willing to do something so drastic in order to get that next little thing, to get the soul, to get the collectible, whatever it is. That's why it's so significant when each time Patches shoves us off of a ledge, it's literally a metaphor for us diving down 6 feet under wherever we're going to get what we want. We're going to do anything because we want the thing so badly. And it also nods to what a delusion might be or what we're willing to sacrifice for, you know? So there's so many different things philosophically and psychologically that could be happening here with Patches. Patches is a character, you know, Patches is us. Patches is always going to be the player character. And also, just to point something out, I'm not going to pronounce it amygdala because that's just wrong. It's called amygdala. Get it right. And it's a little like nut-sized thing that's all the way tucked inside in like the base of the corpus callosum, I believe. The amygdala is responsible for your emotions, your fears, your fight or flight responses. It explains perfectly why it's so sought after to a degree, of why so many people are fighting it. Hence why the hunter is inside a waking nightmare, because you have to you are one of the main side bosses that you can fight is an amygdala. You're literally fighting your own brain. Yeah, you're literally fighting against yourself, which is... But you guys, that was it for today's episode of Psychologically Gaming / Soulsborne Academy. If you guys like my face and what I do, please be sure to subscribe and hit that bell down below. I make videos every day here on YouTube. May you find your worth in the waking world, dear hunter. Stay casually nerdy, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, you guys.